Hey everyone, and welcome. So, what if I told you that the most advanced piece of technology you will ever own isn't that phone in your pocket? It's the one right between your ears, your brain. And here's the secret. Inside that incredible machine is a fully stocked pharmacy. And the key to unlocking it all? It's not a pill, it's a playlist. So let's turn that key and see what's inside. Now, this isn't just some cool poetic idea. This is the central explosive claim from neuroscientist, and get this, former music producer Daniel Levitin. He's basically saying we've gotten music all wrong. For centuries, we've filed it under entertainment when it really belongs right next to medicine. And this is where it gets really interesting. Levitin gives us this incredible analogy. He says a typical anti-anxiety pill is like a sledgehammer, right? It just hits your entire brain, and yeah, it calms your fear center, but it also causes a ton of collateral damage, like drowsiness or brain fog. But music? Oh, music is the sonic surgical scalpel. It can go in with absolute precision and calm down just the amygdala, your brain's little fear alarm, without shutting down everything else you need to function. It's precision biohacking at its finest. We're going to break down exactly how this works, and trust me, it's mind-blowing. So if you're ready to go deep, do me a favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons right now. You are not going to want to miss a second of this. All right, so here's the roadmap for our journey today. We're going to start by exploring your brain's secret pharmacy. Then, we'll hop in a time machine to check out music's ancient role in our very survival. After that, we'll follow the incredible path sound takes to become a real brain signal. We'll decode how your brain rips apart a playlist and reveal why music feels just so good. And finally, we'll get super practical and you'll learn how to become your own brain DJ. Okay, let's dive right in. Look, when Levitin says music can change your brain chemistry, he's not being poetic. This is hard science. With modern fMRI scanners, we can literally watch this happen in real time. We can see with our own eyes that listening to the right song releases endorphins, your body's very own painkiller, or causes cortisol, the main stress hormone, to just plummet in your bloodstream. We're talking about a shift from being a passive listener to an active biohacker of your own body. But, and this is a huge but, here's the most important rule of the game. There is no one-size-fits-all prescription, not even close. Levitin calls this your musical fingerprint. Think about it. Because of your unique life experiences, your memories, your brain's specific wiring, the song that sends me into a zen-like state of calm might be the song that played during a horrible breakup for you, spiking your anxiety through the roof. So the key isn't finding some magic calming playlist online. It's about learning to become a detective of your own sonic response profile. So if music is so incredibly personal, how did it become a universal human thing? I mean, every culture has it. To really get its power, we have to ask a bigger question. Why are our brains even wired for music in the first place? For the longest time, science was locked in this huge debate. Was music just some kind of happy accident, a fun little byproduct of evolution, or was it absolutely critical for our survival? And this is the most famous argument for the happy accident side, from the brilliant psychologist Steven Pinker. He famously called music auditory cheesecake. His whole idea was, look, our brains evolved for essential stuff, like language and spotting patterns in the weeds so we don't get eaten. Music, he argued, just piggybacks on those important skills. It's a pleasure hack. It's absolutely delicious for sure, but it's not dinner. It won't keep you alive. But Levitin comes back with this powerful, three-punch knockout rebuttal. First, metabolic cost. Your brain is an energy hog. It uses about 20% of your body's total power. And processing music? It is incredibly demanding. It lights up almost every corner of your brain. Evolution is just ruthless when it comes to efficiency. There's no way it would dedicate that much precious energy to something that's just useless. Second, universality. I mean, come on. Every single known human culture throughout all of history has had music. This isn't some cultural software we install. It is biological hardware we are all born with. And third, and this one is just incredible, resilience. Think about patients with severe brain damage, maybe from Alzheimer's or a stroke. Their language can be completely gone, but they can often still sing, word for word, songs from their childhood. That's proof that music is stored in much older, deeper, more fundamental parts of the brain. So no, this is not cheesecake. It is a core part of our human operating system. And this just puts it all in perspective. In the Hohlefels caves in Germany, archaeologists found flutes. They were carved from vulture bone and mammoth ivory. The truly insane part, they're 40,000 years old. That means our ancestors, during the frickin' Ice Age, living on the absolute brink of extinction, used their precious time and energy to make musical instruments. This was 30,000 years before agriculture. This was long before we invented writing.
Music wasn't a luxury for them. It was as vital as a weapon.
So why? Why was it so essential? Levitin calls it social biochemistry. Imagine a group of early humans, all strangers, all suspicious of each other. But then they start to sing together, to move together. Their bodies are instantly flooded with oxytocin, that's the trust and bonding hormone. At the exact same time, their cortisol levels, the stress hormone, plummet. This chemical cocktail literally transformed a group of paranoid individuals into a trusting, cohesive tribe. It was a technology for creating safety and cohesion, making it possible to hunt big game and defend the camp together.
So we have totally covered the why. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty how. How does a simple little vibration in the air get turned into a complex emotion or a feeling or even a physical command inside your body? Well, that journey is an absolute masterpiece of biological engineering.
It all happens in 3 brilliant stages. First, your outer ear, the part you can actually see, acts just like a satellite dish. Its only job is to collect sound waves and funnel them inside. Then, in your middle ear, the 3 smallest bones in your entire body act as a perfect tiny lever system, amplifying those vibrations. And finally, we get to the magic. In your inner ear, that physical vibration makes waves inside the fluid of your cochlea, and that causes thousands of microscopic little hair cells to bend. And that physical bending motion is what gets translated into the electrical language of your brain. That's the moment of creation.
And here is a super important public service announcement. Unlike your skin or other cells, these little auditory hair cells, they never ever grow back. Once they are damaged by loud noise, they are gone for good. So protecting your hearing isn't just about, not going deaf. It is about protecting your access to your brain's pharmacy. You need these little messengers to deliver the medicine. So that electrical signal arrives at the brain. Now what? Well, your brain doesn't just hear a song. Oh no, it's way cooler than that. It acts like a world-class sound engineer at a giant mixing board. It deconstructs the music into 4 core pieces, and it processes each one in a totally different area to create a specific biological effect. Okay, so let's look at this mixing board. Pillar 1 is pitch, how high or low a note is. Your brain maps this straight to emotion. High rising notes create tension. Low descending notes signal calm. Pillar 2, rhythm and tempo. This is hardwired right into your motor system. A fast beat literally tells your ancient brain something is happening, time to fight or run or dance, and it can trigger adrenaline. A slow tempo tells it everything's safe. Pillar 3 is timbre, the color of a sound. It's why a violin sounds different from a trumpet playing the exact same note. Warm timbres, like a cello, actually activate your body's rest and digest system. And finally, loudness. High volume instantly triggers your fight or flight response, because for thousands of years, a sudden loud noise meant one thing: danger is here. Now, we get to the most profound part of all. How does your brain take these 4 simple ingredients, pitch, rhythm, timbre, and loudness, and cook them up into one of the most pleasurable and deeply healing experiences a human being can possibly have? So let's just ask the question directly. Why does the right song at the right time feel so unbelievably good? I mean, it can give you goosebumps, it can make you cry, it can make you feel invincible. Why? Well, the answer lies in 2 incredible neurological games that your brain just loves to play with sound. The first one is what Levitin calls the prediction engine. As you're listening to a song, your prefrontal cortex is constantly working, making thousands of tiny, unconscious predictions about what note is coming next. It's basing this on every other piece of music you've ever heard in your life. The intense pleasure, the thing that gives you that rush of the reward chemical dopamine, comes from a beautiful game of tension and release. It's when the music violates your expectation just for a second and then resolves it in a way that's even more perfect than you could have predicted. Your brain just loves that game, and it rewards you for playing. But the second mechanism, this one is even more powerful. It's called neural entrainment. This is the mind-bending ability of an external rhythm to literally reach into your head, grab your internal brainwaves, and pull them into sync with it. Think about it. It's like a biological remote control for your own consciousness. A fast, upbeat song can literally pull your brain into a high-energy beta state, making you feel sharp and alert. But a slow, steady beat can physically shift your brainwaves into a calm, meditative alpha state. It allows you to tune your own heart rate, your breathing, and your mental state just by choosing what you listen to. Okay, we've done the history, we've done the biology, we've done the neuroscience. Now let's bring it all home and make it practical. How can you use all of this incredible science to become your own brain DJ and start actively managing your mental and physical state right now?
Here are your first 2 sonic prescriptions. Feeling totally drained and fatigued? Instead of grabbing that third cup of coffee, try this. Listen to just 10 minutes of music that's around 120 beats per minute. That uses neural entrainment to literally pull your body's rhythm up to a higher energy level. And what about for a panic attack? Here, the key is familiarity. Novelty, something new, can be seen as a threat by your amygdala. Listening to a song you have known and loved since childhood sends an overwhelming signal of safety directly to that fear circuit, calming it down faster than you can imagine.
Want to give your immune system a little boost? Sing. Seriously, especially in a group. The physical act of singing actually stimulates your lymphatic system, and studies have shown it increases your body's production of immunoglobulin A, a key antibody for fighting off infections. And for a super simple daily calm down practice, try rhythmic breathing. Just put on some slow, gentle music, breathe in for a count of 4 beats, and breathe out for a count of 8 beats. That specific pattern directly stimulates your vagus nerve, which is like the master on-off switch for your body's entire relaxation response. So, when you put it all together, here is the big takeaway. We have to completely change how we think about listening to music. Your body doesn't just hear it as some kind of abstract art. Music is a physical force. Your cells vibrate with it. Your neurons and your heart sync to it. On a fundamental, biological level, your body can be commanded by it.
So the only question left is the one for you. Are you ready to stop being just a passive listener and start being an active commander? Are you ready to take control of your body's oldest, most powerful, and most personal form of medicine? Don't go anywhere. The rest of these powerful insights are coming right up. We are diving straight into this really revolutionary idea that music isn't just something you listen to for fun. Nope. It is an incredibly powerful tool that can literally reshape our brains and our bodies. Think of it like a biological key that can unlock your own internal pharmacy. And today, we're going to learn exactly how to use it. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to map out how music basically launches this full-scale operation inside your body. First, we'll look at how it pretty much hijacks your entire brain. Then, we'll dive into the chemical symphony it conducts. After that, get this, we'll see how it can literally hack your pain response and even give your body's defense systems a major boost. And finally, the best part, we'll hand you the keys to stock your very own personal music pharmacy. So first things first, we have to completely blow up the old ideas about how our brains even process music because, it's not like anything else we do. Not even close. So let me ask you this. If you had to point to just one spot in your brain that handles music, the way we have a spot for vision or a spot for speech, where would you point? It sounds like a pretty straightforward question, doesn't it? Well, the truth is, this is a total trick question. There is no single music center. What really happens is that listening to music ignites this massive, coordinated light up across your entire brain. We're talking a full-blown neurological fireworks display. It's really like a full brain orchestra playing in perfect harmony. You've got the cerebellum, one of the most ancient parts of our brain, and it's in charge of the rhythm section. This is why a great beat makes you want to tap your foot or nod your head before you even think about it. It's a deep, primal connection to movement. Then, at the same time, your temporal lobes are like the sound engineers, breaking down everything you hear into individual notes and instruments. And right up front, you've got the conductor, your prefrontal cortex, playing this amazing game of what comes next, predicting the melody. And when it gets it right or is pleasantly surprised, boom, you get a hit of pure pleasure. And here's the kicker. This intense brain workout isn't just temporary. Over time, it physically rewires the brain. It's this incredible principle called neuroplasticity in action. Scientists have actually found that musicians have a bigger, stronger corpus callosum. Now, that's the bundle of nerves that connects your logical left brain with your creative right brain. For them, it's not just a bridge, it's a high-speed superhighway, allowing for this lightning-fast communication between logic and art. It's what gives them this incredible cognitive flexibility. Okay, so we've seen how music can change the brain's physical structure. Now let's peel back the next layer and see how music acts like a master pharmacist, turning on the taps for a powerful cocktail of brain chemicals. Have you ever gotten chills listening to a really powerful part of a song? Yeah, that's not just you being emotional, that's a full-on biological event. See, as you anticipate that big moment, the crescendo, your brain's reward center starts flooding with dopamine. And when that peak finally hits, it is a chemical explosion. It's this incredible rush of pleasure that scientists say is on par with our most basic primal urges. It's all about that buildup and release. But music's chemical influence goes way beyond just feeling good in the moment. It is deeply, deeply tied to our memory. It creates what one neuroscientist calls a biological time tunnel, especially when it comes to the music we loved as teenagers. There's a name for this. It's called the reminiscence bump. Think about it. Between the ages of about 14 and 20, your brain is just on fire. Hormones are going crazy, you're trying to figure out who you are, and your brain is forming connections at a wild pace. Well, the music you love during that time gets tangled up in all of that. It gets coated with all those powerful emotions and chemicals and woven right into the fabric of your identity. It's literally neurologically stamped onto your brain, which is why those songs stick with us forever.
Okay, so now we get how music messes with our brain structure and its chemistry. So let's talk about one of its most unbelievable applications, its ability to act as a natural painkiller, like a form of morphine your body makes itself. The secret to this is something called the gate control theory of pain. Basically, the theory says there are these neurological gates in your spinal cord. Now, they're not actual gates, but they act like them. They decide if a pain signal from, say, your stubbed toe is even allowed to travel up to your brain to be felt as pain. And it turns out, music is one of the best ways to order those gates to slam shut. So how does it work? Well, it basically creates a massive traffic jam on your brain's information highway. See, that highway has a limited number of lanes. A pain signal is like one little car trying to get through, but listening to complex music, that's like a giant convoy. Your brain is trying to process rhythm, melody, harmony, the sound of the instruments, the emotion. It's a huge cognitive load that takes up every single lane. There's just no room left for that little pain signal to get through. And here's the most important part. This isn't just you distracting yourself. It is not a placebo effect. We have hard chemical proof. In this really famous experiment, scientists gave people a drug called naloxone, which blocks the brain's natural opioid receptors, the same ones that morphine latches onto. Then they played them their favorite music. And the result was just staggering. The feeling of pleasure and, crucially, the pain-relieving effects of the music, they completely vanished. This proved, without a doubt, that music's power over pain is real, and it comes from triggering our brain's own natural morphine. But the journey doesn't stop there. It goes even deeper. We're moving past the nervous system now, and we're going straight into your body's defense forces. We are talking about how music can act as a biochemical trigger to literally boost your immune system. Okay, let's start at the front lines of your body's defenses. We're talking about something called immunoglobulin A, or IgA. It's an antibody in your saliva, and it's your first defense against germs you breathe in. Well, studies have shown that after just 30 to 60 minutes of listening to relaxing music, the amount of these little antibody soldiers in your saliva goes way up. So yeah, your playlist on the way to work could actually be your first line of defense during cold and flu season. And it's not just the frontline soldiers. Music also energizes your elite special forces. I'm talking about your natural killer cells, NK cells for short. These are specialized assassins that patrol your body, hunting down and destroying viruses and even tumor cells. And studies with cancer patients have shown that active music therapy, like drumming in a group, dramatically amps up the activity of these vital cells. It's pretty amazing. So what's the secret? How does it do this? Well, it's basically a direct fight with cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. You can think of cortisol as a general who, during a crisis, orders a full retreat, telling your immune system to stand down and save energy for fight or flight. Music comes in as the morale officer. It lowers that cortisol, tells your body it's okay to rest and digest, and basically gives your immune system the all clear to power back on at full strength. So we've gone through the neurology, the chemistry, the immunology, which is all incredible. But how do we turn this science into something we can actually use every day? Well, let's stock up your personal prescription-free music pharmacy. Rule number 1, and this is the most important one, your personal taste is everything. The music that works is the music you love. It doesn't matter the genre. If you love it, it will trigger those pain-killing endorphins. Second, for deep, focused work, go with instrumental music. Lyrics can actually distract the language parts of your brain. And third, you have to build that return to self playlist from your teenage years. When you're feeling anxious or lost, that playlist is a direct phone line back to your core identity. Now, if you're dealing with acute pain, you have to go beyond just having music on in the background. You need to practice something called active analytical listening. You have to really dissect the music. Force your brain to work. Try to count how many instruments you can hear. Pick one, just the bass line, and follow it from the start of the song to the end. That intense focus is what creates that neurological traffic jam we talked about, and it is the most powerful way to slam those pain gates shut without a prescription. And to give your immune system a real boost, don't just listen, participate.
That's right, singing, even if it's just you alone in the car, is way more powerful. The physical vibrations in your chest actually stimulate your lymphatic system, which helps your immune cells get around. And try using music preemptively. Before you get on a plane or walk into a stressful meeting, put on some joyful, high-energy music. You're basically pre-tuning your system, raising your defenses before the challenge even starts. And that's just the beginning of how you can consciously use music to direct your own biology. Don't go anywhere. The rest of these powerful insights are coming right. We usually think of music as just art, right? Something for entertainment, something to express ourselves. But what if it's actually one of the most powerful, non-chemical tools we have to directly hijack our own brain chemistry? I mean, what if you could prescribe a playlist just like a doctor prescribes a pill? Well, it turns out the science is saying, yeah, you absolutely can. Okay, so here's what we're going to break down. We're looking at how music can be a straight-up medicine for our minds. First up, we're tackling depression and how sound can literally melt its icy grip on the brain. Then, we'll switch gears to anxiety and see how music acts like an emergency brake for a nervous system that's totally freaking out. And finally, we'll get super practical and learn how to conduct the perfect lullaby for deep, restorative sleep. Let's do this. All right, first stop, depression. Now, to really get this, you have to throw out the idea that depression is just being really sad. It's way deeper than that. The neuroscientist Daniel Levitin has this incredible way of putting it. He calls it a biological state of being frozen. Like your brain's reward circuits are literally on ice. And music? Well, music can be the warmth that starts to thaw it all out.
And the key word for this whole frozen state is anhedonia. It's this core symptom of depression where stuff you used to love, your favorite food, hanging out with friends, that hobby you were obsessed with, suddenly feels meh, just flat, nothing. The science behind it is actually pretty wild. You've got your brain's logic center, the prefrontal cortex, and your pleasure center, the nucleus accumbens. In a healthy brain, they're constantly chatting. But in a depressed brain, that connection gets weak. It gets fuzzy. So the signal that's supposed to say, hey, this is awesome, release the dopamine, well, it just doesn't get through. So this leads to a super interesting puzzle, right? Because you'd think if you're feeling down, you should listen to happy, upbeat music. That's what everyone tells you to do. But for a lot of people, especially those dealing with depression, they do the exact opposite. They put on the sad songs. And here's the crazy part. It actually makes them feel better. How does that work? It sounds totally backwards, but there is a brilliant biological reason this actually works. Okay, check this out. It's called the prolactin theory. So when you listen to that sad song, your brain gets a little confused. It has a hard time telling the difference between artistic sadness and, oh my gosh, something terrible just happened. So it basically gets tricked into thinking a real loss has occurred. And what does it do? It releases this comforting hormone called prolactin. But, and this is the genius of it, there's no real tragedy. So you get this amazing rush of a comforting, soothing chemical without any of the actual pain. It's like your brain is giving you this warm, biochemical hug from the inside. And this whole idea leads to a really powerful strategy called the ISO principle. Think about it. You can't just shock a frozen brain with a blast of sunshine and happiness. If you play some super high-energy, happy-go-lucky song for someone who's really down, it doesn't compute. It's jarring, it feels fake, even annoying. So the ISO principle is all about this. First, you have to meet the brain where it's at. You start with music that actually matches that low mood. You have to validate the feeling first. So how do you actually do that? Well, there's a fantastic exercise for this, and it's called the audio ladder. I want you to think of this like a daily workout for your emotional state, a way to train your brain to be more flexible. It's simple. You make a 5-song playlist. Song number 1, it perfectly matches your current sad mood. But then, song 2 is just a little bit calmer. Song 3 is kind of neutral. Song 4 starts to feel a little hopeful. And by song 5, you've landed on something energetic and positive. See what you're doing? You're not forcing anything. You're building a gentle audio staircase to climb out of that pit, one step at a time. All right, so we've seen how music can thaw out a frozen brain. Now let's talk about how it can cool down a brain that's on fire. Let's talk about anxiety. Because if depression is being frozen, anxiety is the complete opposite. It's like having a smoke alarm in your head that is just screaming nonstop, 24/7, even when there's no smoke. And music can be the emergency brake that finally silences that alarm. Okay, but first, it's super important we get the difference between stress and anxiety because they're not the same thing. Stress is actually a good thing. It's a response to a real, immediate threat, like you're about to miss a deadline. Your body's emergency system kicks in with cortisol and adrenaline, and it works perfectly to help you focus. Anxiety, though, that's when the system is broken.
The emergency system is stuck in the on position. It's this constant worry about threats that might not even exist. And it's all driven by a hyperactive amygdala, which is your brain's little fear detector.
And this is where music becomes, well, a piece of technology. I love this quote from Levitin. He calls music an amygdala inhibition technology. How cool is that? It's basically saying music is a tool, a piece of tech that we can use to literally reach into our brains and turn down the volume on our fear center. It sends this powerful, undeniable signal that says, hey, everything's cool, you're safe.
So how on earth does it do that? Well, it talks directly to our nervous system. The vibrations and frequencies in certain kinds of music, especially those low, calm ones, actually stimulate something called the vagus nerve. You can think of this nerve as a giant information superhighway running from your body to your brain. And when music stimulates it, it sends a big, all-clear signal that flips a major switch in your body. It shifts you out of your fight or flight system and into your rest and digest system. It's a physiological change. This all happens because of a process that is just mind-blowing. It's called neural entrainment. Okay, so your brain's neurons are always firing in rhythmic patterns. When you listen to a steady external rhythm, like a song with a beat around 60 beats per minute, your neurons will start to fire in sync with that beat. They literally fall in line. And here's the absolute wildest part. Your actual physical heart rate will slow down to match the tempo of the music. You're literally using sound to externally control your internal biology. How amazing is that? And hey, this isn't just some cool theory. We've got the hard data to back it up. Check this out. There was a study on patients right before they went into surgery. I mean, talk about a high anxiety situation. They gave one group a powerful anti-anxiety drug, midazolam. The other group just got to listen to their favorite music. And the results were staggering. The music group had lower anxiety and less of the stress hormone cortisol than the group that got the actual drug. And, of course, with zero side effects. That is just incredible. All right, we've covered the frozen state of depression and the fiery state of anxiety. Now for the third piece of the puzzle, something every single one of us struggles with at some point: sleep. The problem for so many of us is that at the end of the day, our brain is like a massive traffic jam. Thoughts are racing everywhere, and we just can't seem to downshift into those slow brain waves we need for real rest. Well, music can be the conductor that comes in and clears that traffic jam for. See, falling asleep is basically a journey. You're traveling down through different brainwave frequencies. When you're wide awake and thinking, you're in a fast beta state. To get to sleep, you have to shift down to alpha, which is more relaxed. Then you go down again to theta for light sleep. And the final destination, the jackpot, is delta sleep, that deep restorative sleep. That's where the real magic happens, when your brain basically takes off the trash and cleans itself. So how does music help us make that trip downstairs? Well, it's our old friend, that incredible process of neural entrainment, back again for sleep. The music acts like an external pacemaker for your brain. By listening to something slow, simple, and super repetitive, you're giving your racing brain cells a steady rhythm to grab onto. You're literally using sound to gently pull your brain waves down from those fast frequencies into the slow, rolling waves you need for deep sleep. But wait, you can't just throw on any old playlist. There is a very specific recipe for the perfect sleep song. Rule number 1, the tempo has to be under 60 beats per minute. That's slower than your resting heart rate. Rule number 2, and this one is absolutely crucial, no lyrics. Words wake up the language parts of your brain, and that's the last thing you want. Rule 3, the volume needs to be stable. No sudden loud parts, no surprises. And finally, Rule 4, it's gotta be repetitive and predictable. Your brain shouldn't have to work at all. It should just be able to switch off. Now, let's just quickly compare this to taking a sleeping pill. A drug like zolpidem, it doesn't really give you natural sleep. It basically just knocks you unconscious. It can actually mess up your natural sleep cycles, especially that deep restorative delta sleep. Plus, your body gets used to them. Music, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. It doesn't force anything. It guides your brain through its natural sleep cycles. And the coolest part? It gets more effective over time. Your brain learns to associate those sounds with sleep, so it works even better. So, when you put it all together, it brings us to this really interesting final thought. We've seen how music can give us a chemical hug when we're feeling frozen, how it can silence the alarm bells of anxiety, and how it can literally guide our brainwaves into a deep sleep. So here's the question. Is music, when we use it like this, basically just a high-tech biological pacifier for the adult brain? Don't go anywhere. The rest of the powerful insights are coming right up.
Today, we're unlocking the incredible power hidden inside your favorite songs. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it with a question that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but I promise you it is 100% science fact. How can a song, just a simple piece of music, actually rebuild a broken brain, a brain damaged by disease or an injury? It sounds impossible, right? Well, the answer is going to blow your mind.
All right, so our first big idea is this. Think of music as the ultimate biohack for your brain. It's like a neural construction crew. When there's a roadblock in the brain, a damaged area, music doesn't just give up. It literally builds a bypass, a brand new highway for information to travel on, getting around the damage to restore abilities we thought were gone for good.
So, to really see this in action, let's take a look at Parkinson's. You've got this little command center deep in your brain called the basal ganglia. Its job is to be your body's metronome, your internal clock, keeping the rhythm for all your movements. But in Parkinson's, there's not enough dopamine, and that clock, it just breaks. The signal to do something as simple as take a step gets lost in translation. This leads to something called motor freezing. It's heartbreaking. The person wants to walk, their mind is saying go, but the body just won't respond.
And this is where the magic happens. So, step 1, the brain's internal signal is broken. It's just not getting through. But then, step 2, the person hears a strong, steady musical beat. That sound goes into the auditory cortex, which then does something incredible. It pulls off this amazing workaround. It creates a bypass, sending a new signal directly to the cerebellum, the part of the brain that handles coordination. It completely skips over the damaged part. The music literally becomes an external pacemaker, a neural cane that the person can lean on. And you have to understand, this isn't just about feeling good. That rhythm is a command. It's a new boss, telling the body what to do when its original commander has gone silent.
And check this out. It's not just for movement. We see the exact same kind of bypass strategy for stroke survivors who've lost the ability to speak, a condition called aphasia. See, for most of us, our main language center is parked in the left side of our brain. If a stroke hits that spot, poof, the ability to form words can just vanish. But here's the kicker. Our ability to process music and melody, that's spread out all over the brain, and the right side is often totally unharmed. So therapists use this amazing technique where they teach patients to sing what they want to say. The healthy right brain essentially learns a new trick. It takes over the job of the damaged left side, and suddenly someone who is trapped in silence can communicate again, all through song. It's incredible.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something really powerful and emotional. We're going to talk about unlocking a mind that's been lost to Alzheimer's.
I'm sure you've seen those videos online, right? An elderly person with Alzheimer's, maybe they seem completely disconnected, and then someone puts on a song from their youth, and they just light up. They come alive. It's like this quote says, it's not just that they remember the song. For a brief moment, they come back. Their whole personality awakens. So the big question is, why? How can music survive the devastation of Alzheimer's when things we think are so fundamental, like the name of your own child, just disappear?
Well, the scientific reason is something called robust encoding. And here's what that means. Think of your regular memories, facts, names, events, as being stored in one specific file cabinet in your brain, a place called the hippocampus. Alzheimer's is like a fire that targets that one cabinet, destroying its contents. But musical memories, they're not stored in one cabinet. They're scattered all over the office. They're woven into the emotional centers, the motor cortex, the prefrontal cortex, places that are much more fire-resistant. So when a familiar song plays, it's like a universal key that can still unlock all these other undamaged areas, bringing a flood of memories and feelings with it.
So what's the magic ingredient here? What music works best? Well, the science points to a very specific time in our lives, the years between about 14 and 25. Think about it. Your teenage years, your early 20s, that's when music is everything. It's tied to our first love, our friendships, figuring out who we are. Those memories are encoded with so much emotion, they're practically tattooed on our brains. That's why building a playlist from that specific era for someone with Alzheimer's is so unbelievably powerful. It's a direct line back to their core self.
All right, we've seen music as a healer. It's incredible. But what about as an enhancer? Can music actually make you smarter? Let's talk about that because we need to bust a pretty huge myth.
The Mozart effect. We've all heard this one. The idea that if you just play some Mozart for your baby, they're going to grow up to be a super genius. Well, let me just put this to bed right now. It's a myth. It's not true. Just listening to music, no matter how complex, is not going to permanently boost your IQ. But what music can do is actually way cooler.
The real secret isn't in listening, it's in playing. There's a world of difference. See, listening to music is like having a cup of coffee. It gives you a temporary boost, right? It perks you up, it proves your mood, and might help you solve a puzzle a little faster. It's a temporary state of mind. But actually learning and playing an instrument, that's like going to the gym for your brain. You're not just getting a temporary boost, you are physically rebuilding it. It's a permanent structural upgrade. We're talking about literally thickening the gray matter in key areas. It's a fundamental change.
Okay, so just listening won't make you Einstein. But, and this is a big but, it can be your secret weapon for getting into the zone, for achieving deep focus. You just have to know the rules of the game. So let's get into your ultimate focus hack. To really get this, we need a quick lesson in something called cognitive load theory. The easiest way to think about it is like your internet connection. Your brain has a certain amount of bandwidth for attention. If you try to stream a 4K movie and have a high-def video call at the same time, what happens? Everything gets slow and buffers, right? Your brain is the same way. If you try to do two similar tasks at once, especially two things that both use language, they're fighting for the same bandwidth.
And this is the perfect picture of that problem. Let's say you're trying to write an important email. That task is using up your brain's language bandwidth. Now, at the same time, you put on your favorite pop song, which has lyrics. Guess what? That also needs the exact same language bandwidth. You've just created a massive cognitive traffic jam. Your brain is desperately trying to pay attention to the words you're typing and the words you're hearing, and it ends up doing a terrible job at both.
So what's the fix? It's so simple. Instrumental music. Music with no words. Because it doesn't have lyrics, it's not fighting for that same precious language bandwidth. Instead, it does two amazing things. First, it creates this protective sound bubble around you, blocking out all those annoying distractions, the dog barking, the person talking down the hall. And second, it keeps your brain swimming in a nice, steady supply of dopamine, which is the key chemical for staying locked in and focused for hours.
Okay, this is where it all comes together. We've learned the science, now it's time to put it into practice. We're going to build your very own, custom-tailored personal music pharmacy. Here you go. This is a super powerful 3-step protocol to engineer deep focus whenever you need it. Think of it like a warm-up for your brain. Step 1 is prime. For just 10 or 15 minutes before you even start your work, blast your favorite high-energy pump-up music. The goal is step 2, peak. You want to flood your brain with dopamine and get totally amped up. Then, and this is the critical part, step 3, perform. Just as you start the real work, you kill the pump-up music. You switch to something instrumental or maybe some pink noise or even total silence. That way you maintain the focus without the distraction. Okay, got something really boring or complicated you need to memorize? A formula? A list of dates? A legal definition? Here's a cheat code for your brain. Take that information and just sing it to the tune of a simple, familiar song. You know, like Mary Had a Little Lamb or Row, Row, Row Your Boat. It sounds silly, but what you're doing is genius. It's called dual encoding. You're forcing your brain to store the information in two places at once, the words in your left brain and the melody in your right. It creates these extra hooks that make the memory way, way stickier.
And just how well does this work? I mean, are we talking a small improvement? No way. According to the research, this one little trick can boost your ability to recall that information by up to 3 times. That's not a small tweak. That's a massive upgrade. It's a ridiculously powerful memory hack.
And now for the final and maybe most overlooked prescription in your pharmacy, silence. Seriously, after you've used music to learn something, to focus, or even just to feel better, give yourself a few minutes of total quiet. No phone, no TV, nothing. Think of it like hitting the save button. That silence gives your brain the downtime it needs to process everything and really lock in all the benefits, strengthening all those new connections you just built. It's the step that makes it all stick.
Which really brings us full circle, back to the single most important idea we've talked about today. Music isn't just entertainment. It's not a background luxury. It's a fundamental part of our biology. It is, quite literally, a personal pharmacy that you carry around with you 24/7, with a prescription for pretty much anything you need to heal, to focus, to remember, to feel. So there you have it. What an incredible journey. We've seen how music can build new roads in the brain to heal damage, how picking up an instrument is like a permanent hardware upgrade for your mind, and how you can become the DJ of your own focus, dialing it in whenever you need it. We've learned that music isn't just nice to have, it's a biological necessity. You've just mastered the science of your own personal pharmacy. Thank you so much for coming on this deep dive with me. Okay, now I've got to know. What's in your personal pharmacy?
What's that one go-to song you use to get focused or to get pumped up for a workout, or just to pull you out of a bad mood? Drop your prescription in the comments below. Let's build a community playlist. Stay curious, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.